Enter and display data with SQL. Now that we have created a database structure, we can load and transform actual data into the database. First, let's look at how inserting, viewing, changing, and deleting data records with SQL works. I think it's important to start with the basics to understand the more complex stuff later. What is SQL DML used for? The SQL language contains a set of statements called Data Manipulation Language, DML, that deals with tasks related to handling data. The DML includes the following commands: insert for inserting data, update for changing data, delete for deleting data, and truncate to empty tables. We'll use these to fill our tables with some example data. Before we load all the data in our app for real, we'll start with a few exercises to get you used to the relevant SQL commands. We'll apply these DML commands later to transform our data after loading. Insert a movie. Assuming that you have created the movies table on your database server as described in Chapter 3, we'll now load the first row of the movie CSV file. 1. Open MySQL Workbench. 2. Connect to the database server. 3. Open the database RecommendDB by double-clicking it in the navigator or entering the instruction Use RecommendDB. Four. Execute the insert statement in code example 1. In code example 1, we use the insert statement to insert data into a subset of columns in the table. To do this, the insert statement always requires the into part to specify the table for insertion. In addition to the table, we can specify the list of the columns we want to insert data into as a comma-separated list in parentheses. If the data record contains data for all columns, the list of columns is optional. We then give the values keyword that tells MySQL we are about to provide the respective values for the specified columns. Here we define the data to be inserted in the form of tuples. A tuple is a list of data values enclosed in parentheses and separated by commas, and it's useful for defining data records or table rows in advance. As we will see later, it is possible to combine the insert statement with a select query instead of values to insert the results of the selection only after pulling the data from the database. Here we start with fixed tuple values to understand how data loading works. Now we want to see what has been inserted. For this, we need the select statement, SQL's basic statement that pulls records from the database. We'll simply apply the select statement in this chapter, and we'll cover and explain how select works in more detail in chapter 4, because it's a very powerful command. In code example 2, we see how to display all movies. 1. Execute the SQL statement from code example 2. The select statement pulls whatever data you ask it for. By providing the asterisk wildcard and specifying movies, it selects all columns from the movies table. 2. Then you should see the results, as shown here. We can see that the movies table has entries for a single row in the ID, title, and budget columns. In SQL, we can also insert lists of tuples rather than single values. We'll do that now. Insert a list of movies. As an exercise, let's insert the list of movie IDs and titles from lines 3 to 5 of movie CSV into the movies table. To do this, we specify the columns we want to fill. We then give the values keyword with the comma-separated list of tuples as shown in code example 3. One. Execute the SQL statement of code example 3 in MySQL Workbench on your MySQL server. 2. Select all movies with a select statement. We can see the result as shown here.